Promising Young Women is the first feature film directed by Emerald Fennell. The BFI describes it as confronting rape culture head-on. It follows the story of Cassie, who will go to any lengths to avenge her friend's sexual assault. In an interview with Vogue, Fennell explained how she wanted to write a movie that reflected this thing that we all grew up with, which was that getting girls drunk in order to seduce them was kind of normal. It was in every comedy, and girls' bodies were something to be won, almost by any means necessary. The film was released in 2020 following the #MeToo movement, which was a social justice campaign started by Tarana Burke to empower women who had endured sexual violence by letting them know that they were not alone. In an article on a website called Very Well Mind, it states that in 2017, the New York Times published an article accusing Harvey Weinstein, a very well-known and powerful film producer who produced many successful films like Pulp Fiction, Scary Movie, The Lord of the Rings and Spy Kids, of sexual harassment. Actors Ashley Judd and Rose McGowan were fearlessly vocal about Weinstein's actions. It became a trending topic and many women and men came forward with their stories. Some celebrities who spoke out include Taylor Swift, Kesha, Lady Gaga and Terry Crews. When asked by Entertainment Weekly if the film was inspired by the #MeToo movement, Fennell expressed, "The thing about the #MeToo movement, it's stuff we'd all been talking about among ourselves together. Some of the details were a shock, but none of it was a shock to anyone who's lived in the world as a woman. As I was working on it, this huge thing was happening at the same time." The name of the film is a play on the phrase promising young man, which is commonly given to men in the media to humanize them even when they commit heinous crimes. It is also a tongue-in-cheek way to show that although Cassie's actions in the film are polarizing and morally grey, ultimately they come from an earnest place. Cassie is presented as a flawed but well-meaning protagonist. As previously mentioned, she wants to seek revenge on her friend Nina, who was sexually assaulted in college. She does this by putting herself in compromising situations with men, allowing them to think that they've gotten her drunk and then seducing them before snapping out of her act and confronting them. This is especially evident in the scene where she breaks the fourth wall, staring directly at the camera to show the audience that she knows what she's doing. Cassie could be considered as a femme fatale, as she uses her femininity and sexuality to seduce men in order to catch them out. She is presented with a duality of being both angelic and devilish. In one scene, she stands in front of a movie poster in one of her male victims' homes, which has a villainous creature on it which makes her appear as if she has horns. While in other parts of the film, she's placed next to religious imagery, such as when she's waiting for Ryan in the hospital and she sits next to a statue of an angel. When she dies, the rays from the sun shine through the blinds onto her body, and at Al Monroe's wedding, where the automated text of the incriminating video is sent out to everyone, the song Angel of the Morning by Juice Newton plays. Contrastingly, a theatrical version of Britney Spears' song Toxic plays when she arrives at Al Monroe's stag party. This binary opposition between innocence and vindictiveness is also represented through costume and colour throughout the film. Cassie wears a lot of stereotypically feminine pastel colours, which the costume designer of the film, Nancy Steiner, describes as a vast array of bubbly colours, floral bliss, and vintage wear from the 60s, all part of a facade to disguise the darkness inside. On the one hand, Cassie could be seen as non-stereotypical, as she does not desire to be married and she performs in a masculine way through asserting her dominance over men, which contradicts Van Zoonen's feminist theory, which states that women are usually presented as domestic, nurturing, and maternal in the media. However, it could be argued that the fact that she uses sexuality to lure men, plus how she dresses up as a nurse, which is a stereotypical famous male sexual fantasy about women, it could be argued that she's sexualized and objectified, which reinforces Laura Mulvey's male gaze theory. Two other important female roles in the film are Dean Elizabeth Walker and Madison McPhee. Both of these women were around in Cassie's colleges and did nothing to support or defend Nina. These are not progressive or feminist depictions of women, as they are enabling violence against women, although they are only able to see things from Cassie's point of view when she forcibly makes them. On the character of Madison, Fennell said in a Variety interview, "When I was thinking about the character Madison, who's played by Alison Brie, I had to think about how I might have done better in the past. Of course you want certain characters to be all bad, or you want to hate them, but there's also a kind of rotten truth to it." Men in the film were mostly initially presented as charming before Cassie unveils their true colours. Presenting them in this way was done intentionally by Fennell. She hired men who usually appear in romantic comedies such as Adam Brody, Max Greenfield, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, and Bo Burnham, who plays Ryan. Fennel presented the men in this way as she believes that society tells men that the way women are treated is normal, so they don't see themselves as in the wrong. She instructed the male actors to think they're in a romantic comedy and that they're the lead. She goes on to say that presenting them this way was crucial as it's important that both we and Cassie see the moment they realise they're in trouble and they're frightened. They're not frightened of her, they're frightened that they've been caught, because it's something they'd convinced themselves is fine. Ryan representing the average man is also reflected in the costume and mise-en-scene, as he's often wearing and associated with the colour blue, which is the most stereotypically masculine colour. Stuart Hall's reception theory states that media is encoded by an intended message from the producer, with the hopes that the spectators decode it exactly as intended. However, he believes that there are external factors that can cause spectators to make their own conclusions about the media product that may cause them to not align with the intended message. He says when they fully agree, they are taking a preferred reading. When they completely disagree or misunderstand the intended message, then they are taking an oppositional reading. And when they agree to a certain degree, but not completely, then they are taking a negotiated reading. So you can think about different factors that can affect someone's perception, such as religion, age, political beliefs, socioeconomic background, and gender. For example, some men may take an oppositional reading to Promising Young Women, as they may view the portrayal of men as simplistic and painting them all in the same negative light. Some traditional or conservative women may take an oppositional reading to Cassie, as they may believe her desire to avenge her friend is admirable, but may view her methods as extreme and maybe even evil, while progressive feminists may fully align with Cassie's actions, as she's standing up for women's rights. They may view Cassie as an empowering female figure. One ideology that the film explores is feminism, which is highlighted through the themes of gender inequality, as Cassie is fighting for justice for the sexual assault of her friend and no one seems to care. Another could be patriarchy, as men are not punished for their actions and Cassie fights to change this. You can also link toxic masculinity into this. The film could also be considered as a commentary on rape culture, and it could be considered as a story about justice versus revenge, or even postmodernism, as there's irony in Cassie's hyper-feminine appearance versus her vicious actions, as well as how the men appear to be charming while really they are deviants under the surface. There's also intertextuality through the use of pop music. It explores Cassie's depression, and also the narrative features a lot of unpredictability.